Jim Cooper, and I was born in 1929, and this is Chandler Cooper, my brother, born in 1931, right here in Cherokee. And we grew up dancing. Our dad was Arnold Cooper, and he started the original Smoky Mountain Square Dance Team many years ago. And as we were youngsters, it was customary for them to practice in our living room for this exhibition team that our dad led. And so very often we would take the furniture out of the living room onto the porch, and the 8 couples would come and dance, practice for their competition at the Folk Festival in Asheville, or the Labor Day program in Canton, or any other local festival that was going on. Especially the Cherokee Indian Fair in October always brought competitive square dancers, and so my dad's group, or our dad's group, participated in these festivals. And always after they had their practice, we would have free-for-alls where we could all dance. And so we come from a large family, 6 girls and 3 boys, and so the dancing was very secondary to us, just a natural thing to do. And we started performing pretty young. One time when I was, I don't recall it, but I read it in the paper later on, that I was 4 years old and danced with my dad and my grandfather Cooper at the fair here. And we belonged to little junior teams on the reservation, and then later we organized a younger version of the Smoky Mountain Square Dance Team, and we participated in festivals. My generation and Chandler's generation, and we danced at Canton and Brevard and at the Cherokee Festival. And then I had an opportunity individually to go to New York with Sam Queen with a group in about 1948, I guess, and we entertained the stockholders of the Farmers Federation Corporation there at the Waldorf Astoria. And that was quite an experience. I danced in an international folk festival when I was 10 years old in Washington, and we were a successful contender there. And so we've had lots of fun dancing. It's always been just for fun and recreation. And Chandler's done many of the same things that I've done.
I didn't get to go to some of the trips he went on. I didn't go. I was younger, but then I went on some with Sam Queen after Jim left home to go to school. I was still at home, and I went with Sam Queen on to several places in North Carolina and Virginia and around, and so we've been at it for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And what do you call your kind of dance?
Well, we just call it buckdancing, or mountain square dancing. And it's started off ours as a soft shoe dance, in that we don't use cleats and taps and any kind of noise. We try to dance as quiet as we can, but and on the balls of our feet and the toes instead of the heels. There's not much. There's some flat foot, but it's kind of like an Irish jig. I don't know exactly. I've always felt like that the buck dance was a combination of, and I may be wrong in this because no one's ever told me this, but there's a lot of the same rhythm in the Indian dances that we have here, especially the war dances, the faster dances. The beat is very similar to that we do in square dancing. And our mountain culture and Indian culture has always been intertwined. And of course, we're a product of both cultures. Our dad was part Indian, our mother's Scotch and Irish. And so I see a real close relationship to the type of square dancing we do being a combination of both Indian and Caucasian dances together. And the rhythm is the same. I mean, you could take a tom-tom and get the same beat that you get from the banjo and the guitar and the fiddle, It's kind of a strange, for someone from North Carolina to go all the way to Utah to school, but I went out to Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, because it happened to be a Mormon church school, and I'm a Mormon. And so when I got there, they had a very active program bureau, and so I went down and interviewed with the program director, and they were looking for talent of all kind to put on high school assemblies throughout the Mountain West. And so I told the director that I'd had some experience square dancing, and so they encouraged me to organize a square dance team. So I got some youngsters from North Carolina and Virginia, and we put together a little band, and so I taught a group to square dance just as we do here, and we were a real popular program there on the university campus for about 4 years, and it became the prelude to the Brigham Young University folk dancers that B. Jensen later organized. And one of the dances that she incorporated into their repertoire was the Smoky Mountain clogging, just as I taught it there years ago. And they still do that. They go all over the world, and I was kind of happy to have been a part of introducing our type of dance in the Mountain West. And so that was a lot of fun for 4 years while I was in university work. Well, you know, it's given us a lot of opportunities. In 1939, when I went to Washington, D.C., a lot of people make a lot to do with the fact that Sam Queen and the Soco Gap Square Dance Team performed for the King and Queen of England in the White House in 1939. But the truth of the matter is the first invitation came to our group, who were just elementary school students here from the reservation. And our leaders declined the gracious invitation because we'd been in Washington for about 5 or 6 days, and we had to get back to our studies. So actually, the Soco Gap team was the second choice. We had the invitation before they did, but we were unable to keep the engagement. I've always thought it would have been a real nice experience to dance for the King and Queen of England in the White House. The clogging came about probably in the early 50s when they started putting the cleats on their shoes, and the clog was a kind of a rhythm dance.
And they try to get the same step. I mean, it's like it's choreographed or something, you know. And buck dancing is just whatever you know how to do.
It's a free form.
And the clogging, I don't like it as well because it looks like you're trained to do that.
Precision dance.
Yeah,
it
is precision.
And it doesn't really have the same rhythm. They have a beat, but they don't really beat all the measures of the music that you do in a buck dance.
So that's the big difference.
Yeah, that's a difference. But mostly the precision of it. And in our case, as we grew up, the real artistic part of dancing was that each individual had his own step. He developed his own peculiar step, and no one ever copied another person. You just danced the way you felt, but the timing was always the same. Mm-hmm. And the idea was just to hold your head as level as you could. I always said if you could dance with a cup of water on your head, you were really a good dancer, although, you know, not realistically you don't do that, but you're supposed to be kind of relaxed. You're supposed to have a lot of fun.
Only your feet move, supposedly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And,
when we were growing up, they had a square dance here in Cherokee every week, every Friday night. That was the place to be, you know. And everybody could square dance. Everybody could buck dance.
Mm-hmm.
Some maybe not as good as others, but everybody could do it. And everybody had their own movements, you know.
Where did they do that?
community building, the gymnasium.
They had an old gymnasium out on the school campus.
I tell this story. It's really kind of a true story too, though, that when Ken and I were very small, probably 6 and 8, or 7 and 9, we would be walking from our home over in the Birdtown section of Cherokee into Cherokee, about a half a mile or a mile away. And back then, in the summertime, there would be a few tourists, nothing like there are now, but invariably we'd be walking along the road, and a nice group of little ladies would stop and they'd say, "Oh my, what a cute little Indian boy. Sonny, can we take your picture?" And they'd always want to take Chandler's picture. And so he would stand there and pose, and they would take his picture and give him a dime or a nickel or a quarter. And I was standing right beside him, but I was red-headed and freckle-faced at the time and sure didn't look like an Indian. And so they didn't pay any attention to me. And so out of desperation, I started saying, "Well, I can do a buck dance for you here right on the side of the road." And And they say, oh, really? And I say, yes. And so I would smooth me off a little place, and I'd do a little fast shuffle, and they'd give me my nickel or dime or quarter. And this happened many times, and so I tell the people, I said, we saved our nickels and dimes and quarters, and we built a Holiday Inn and the Best Western so that we could have their dollars when they came up later.